Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you so much for having me today.
I'm so happy that you're here, and I've been looking forward to our interview or our chat, both being Reiki masters and yoga teachers. So I know we have a lot to talk about. I want to hear more about you, your story, and how you began actually your journey as a guide and Reiki and yoga teacher.
All right, well, let's begin. So, as long as I could remember, two things I wanted to be a teacher and a mom. As a child, that's where I kind of was gearing towards. Things would come in dreams. I just had a sense of knowing things. And I kind of pushed that aside. Got married, had my beautiful children. And then when my daughter was I would say about 3 years old, I just got into yoga and it was a beautiful love affair. Let's call it that. And so I just could not get enough of it. I was going every day, sometimes twice a day. Absolutely loved it. And in addition to that, I'm also an elementary school teacher. So if you hear me say words like cozy mosey, right? That's
I
coming
love
from
that.
my that's coming from my cue. So I warn people as I teach that if you hear that come out, and I was doing a yoga class and referenced Jack and the Beanstalk. So how can you do that, right? In a yin class. But anyway, continuing on this wonderful journey. And my very good friend brought up something called Reiki. And she's like, you got to try this. She came down to visit and we went to a session. I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. So put that on the back burner. Continued on with yoga. I was living at the time in Charleston, South Carolina, moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where I had been born and raised. I was going through a divorce and had to go back teaching. So taught elementary school, was a kindergarten teacher, preschool teacher, did that. And then in 2020, things just went topsy-turvy. Of course, prior actually to
Yep.
COVID, my sister passed. And with my sister passing, trying to do as much as I could to kind of really elevate myself. I thought that if I could kind of raise my frequency, that she would come more in dreams and I can communicate with her, because there were so many things after her passing that I just needed answers for. And I just wanted to find out these things. And she would come in dreams, but it was sparingly. So I began the journey of Reiki, and I came to Reiki to basically help heal or help my family, really, my dad, my children. And I never imagined that day I stepped into that Reiki 1 class that I would be teaching. So it's just been an amazing journey. My husband was transferred to El Paso to work at a military hospital, and he ended up wanting to stay here. So after COVID passed, my father had passed, and then our daughter finally graduated, and I came out here where I decided to try yoga and Reiki full time, and that's what I've been doing for the past 2 years. So that sums it up
Wow.
in a little nutshell.
I love that. But you also, besides teaching, you worked in radio a long
I
time
did
ago.
a little bit. So, how that came about, it's amazing how the universe presents things. It's a real lesson in attracting, not chasing. And I had written actually 3 books. And when my third book came out, someone contacted me and said, hey, there's a woman named Barbara who has this radio show. We'd love for you to assist her. So I was kind of behind the scenes. And in those days, it was on the phone and it was
Mm,
live. So we're recording on the phone while I'm doing the little chat room. And I would have to, ask the questions. But there were so many times that we didn't have anybody ask the questions. So my job was to create the questions on the
right.
spot. So I really didn't know that much about the guest until the episode was being recorded. And then I would say, like, user 2758, ask this question.
So it gave you a lot of experience to then do your podcast.
My
So
podcast. Yes, I did that
yeah,
for 2 years. And then, life got busy. It was at a time in the day where all the kids' activities were. So I had to put that aside for a little
yeah.
bit. But it helped because it circled around later to the podcast. So I was able to get that up pretty quickly.
Yeah. And I love how people share when they first experience Reiki, even though Reiki, you were curious about it, and Reiki then kind of came into your life. It circled back and it always presents itself at the time when you need it the most. I think Reiki, I always say Reiki finds you.
Hmm.
You know, when people say, well, I want to learn Reiki. I don't know if I'm ready. Well, when you're ready, you'll know. So Reiki came back and found you, and you have a lot of your intuitive guidance. You have a lot of your clairs are open. So how do you work with those, or how do they help you when you are either doing Reiki or any of your healing with others?
It's so interesting with the clairs because I kind of call it my BS meter. So, meaning that I can tell when someone's not being authentic when they walk into the room. And as I have worked with Reiki, did self Reiki, teach, work with clients, this gets stronger and stronger. So someone can walk into the room and I can feel if they have, say, a spirit attachment to them or
Wow.
something going on. And I can even feel if someone has that placement or attunement for Reiki. And that happened in time, but it just depends on the client. Sometimes they don't want anything. They just don't want to know that. It kind of spooks them out a little bit. So you have to be very mindful. Then you have others. What did you see? Tell me
Mm.
this, tell me that. I'll see colors. An interesting thing that has happened in the last, I think, 7 months, where I can place my hand, and it's usually like at the bottoms of the feet. And I ask the soul, what were you? What do you want to tell me? And it'll show me like a little movie scene of past lives. And what's the message? And there's usually a little message to say afterwards. And then you just gauge the client. Sometimes it's too much for them, or you'll ask a different question. Like one that came through was a Native American. And I asked, do you resonate with Native American? Oh, yeah, like my decor. And then it goes down there. But it's interesting how it shows up. And it's so different for each client. And I get a lot of like deja vu moments where I have perhaps dreamt it. And then I'm in that situation. I'm like, oh my goodness, I know what's happening next.
Oh, I love hearing those stories. That's great about the feet, though. I
That's
never,
interesting.
oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I asked it
That,
and it usually has a message and it seems so clear. Like, and there's always that doubt. Like, am I going crazy? Do I just have a huge imagination? But it seems so clear, like you're watching a film and you're
yes.
observing it. So it's been quite interesting with it. And as I talk to the client, then we'll find out some synchronicities and things like that. But that's
Yeah.
been quite an interesting that has happened again with the self Reiki every day, working. The more you teach, the more you're out there, online that I do, like Insight Timer, things like that. It's continuing to grow.
Yeah. And the feet, if you do past life regression, have you ever done or have you ever received uh
I've never received
being
it, but
guided or yeah, they
yeah,
they
but
they show you the feet.
oh, do they?
Yeah, so when you said that, so when you're being guided through a past life regression, and I've had it done a couple times. Once it was with Brian Weiss, who wrote Many Lives, Many Masters, or Many Masters, Many Lives. He did it with like no audience of like, I don't know, 300 people. He says, when you walk through this portal or door or scene, look down at your feet
Okay.
and it shows you like what kind of shoes you have on. And then, because that's like the first thing you're stepping into. So when you said that, I immediately thought of that. Like your feet
Yeah.
have walked all these paths and it
Mm-hmm.
holds all the messages because the bottom of your feet also have energy centers. So it's
Yeah.
absorbing the memories.
Yeah, yeah. So I
Wow.
just was always guided to place, one hand on the sole of the foot, one hand on
Yeah.
the top of it,
Top.
and I asked it the question, and what, tell me your story, and I would see different
Yeah.
small scenes of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very healing to people to hear impressions that I too like to share, and I also sometimes think I'm just going to say it. I tell people I'm just going to say it if it resonates with you, yes,
Yeah.
or not. It's sometimes I even have people, their ancestors that have crossed, actually show up and help heal.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll I could see them putting their hands on the person on the table, and it's kind of it's kind of cool. I'm like, okay, you can join me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the common struggles that you see people having a hard time with or coming to you to help them with?
A lot of anxiety, depression, anxiety. I've had some clients say, "Hey, if I come to you, can I stop taking my blood pressure medication?" I don't do that.
That's a hard one. Yeah,
Listen to
no.
your doctor, right?
Yeah.
It's never a substitute for, medical or your doctor's, what your doctor prescribes. So I get a lot of that. I also get for training people that want to teach. So I think I'm like a teacher. So I'm getting a lot that they've had dreams or they have the calling, and synchronicities have happened where they find me and they're like, you're my teacher because I want to do this. So I'm finding a lot of that. So I'm
Yeah.
doing a lot more one-on-one trainings versus classes now.
Hmm. Are your one-on-one trainings that are they so typically, let's go back. So typically your group trainings are for you have it divided into like Reiki 1 and then 2 and then master level or master teacher level. And
Yeah,
it takes time. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah. Yeah, so it depends on what Reiki it is. So Reiki Rahiho, we have like level 1. With that one, the lineage that I was taught, we wait 21 days. After 21 days, we meet back up and then certificate. Then a few more months later, level 2, and then 6 months, if not more, level 3 for masters. And then with that particular lineage, you have an internship for master teacher. Now, one of our favorites is Holy Fire, right?
Yes,
You can
holy
do Holy
fire.
Fire. William Rand has a wonderful outline that he has placed together. So
Yeah.
you can do it, teaching it together, Hitachi style or Takata style, where it's, one day and then the next day. And then depending, I believe it's like 6 months later for
Yeah.
the master.
Yeah.
So I do that. But for one-on-ones, I would follow along the same thing. So the recommended 6 to 8 hours, it's usually not that long. We can wrap it up in about 5 hours. I do online and I do in person.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to gather a whole bunch of people for class. And you don't want people to wait and say, they're going to
Yes.
wait only because if they're ready, then you want to honor that,
Yeah. 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 But the
yeah,
other systems I have, it takes a couple hours. Like for Money Reiki, that's like a 3.5 hour training. Amaria, that's another 3 hour training. So it just depends on the type of system. And Animal Reiki. Animal Reiki is very much the same as the Holy Fire. Level 1 one day, level 2 the next. And then you wait for the masters.
So I wasn't aware that there are 10 different systems of Reiki. And I mean, I thought I took a lot of training. So I'm very impressed. And what are some of the other, besides animal Reiki, which I know is very popular?
Yeah.
You mentioned money Reiki and Amaria Reiki.
Yeah.
What are
So
those?
there's so many more that out there. It's amazing what's out there. I mean, I call it, again, the preschool teacher in me is going to come out. It's called Find Your Goldilocks. That you find the right one for you because
Love it.
someone may not resonate with Azui, right? And
Yeah.
maybe Tibetan is your one. Maybe Holy Fire is your one. Maybe Kid, maybe Animal, right? There's Crystal, there's Kundalini. And so when someone comes to me like, oh, I really just don't like the Azui. Okay, well, let's try another one. Here you
Yeah.
go. And so Money Reiki is so much fun. There's level 1, 2, and 3. As you navigate out into the different Reiki, you're going to find that most of them you need your Azui symbols or whatever lineage that gives you the level 2, that distance symbol.
Right.
That's what you need for some of these other ones. So the same thing as for Money Reiki, but that really is giving the energy to items. So say like you get a dollar bill. Well, where has this dollar bill been? What has this dollar been used for, right?
Yeah.
So you can only imagine what it's been used for. So it gives you techniques where you clear the energy, but then you place a blessing on that bill and send it out into the world here. And even when you get that bill from the IRS or the electric company that's too high, something that angers you, you're going to bless that because that person who opens that up, say at the electric company, or has to process that, they need that blessing too. They have to work,
Wow.
and provide for their family. So it's changing your attitude from one of poverty mind thinking to abundance. Because when you think about it, abundance is everywhere. It's everywhere. You just have to look for it. And so it's just getting the change of the energy using music, using other techniques that you can bring in, like a money bowl, money box. And so these are really cute techniques to kind of, it gives you the tools you need to kind of
Yeah.
navigate. So when you get hit with, oh my goodness, the car broke down, oh my goodness, the water heater, you don't go to that panic mode. You go to breathe. You're saying those affirmations. I am a money magnet. I am a money magnet. I'm going to find my way out of this. And then you'll begin to, okay, how can we get out of this? What steps do we need to take?
Mm.
So you're not in that kind of
Panic.
fear-based
Yeah.
panic.
Yeah.
But if you keep doing this, like it gives you like all these affirmations that you use, but you try to weave it into your day. Just like you take a vitamin, just like you take your medicine for preventative, that's what you do with this, because money makes the world go round, right? And you have so many different, people living in a tent, and then others that are having a $3 million birthday party, right? So
Yeah.
you have to find that within you to help navigate. So money Reiki's one. Amaria is a beautiful, that means more. So that's really bringing more energy to your symbols. Angel Reiki's wonderful, where it takes one of the archangels and kind of merges it with an Azui symbol. So each angel is assigned to one of the Azui symbols. So that way, when you bring in, like, say, Chokure, that guardian, that archangel will be there. It's not even, you don't even have to call.
Do
It's
you
there
tie
together.
your own symbol, is there a particular symbol with a particular angel?
Yes, that's how
Okay. Gotcha.
that
Like
works with
Archangel
it.
Michael or
Yeah, so
Gabriel or
Michael
something.
has
Ah,
one and Uriel has one,
right.
and so forth. So that way, when you either call for that angel or you bring in that symbol, they're both together as you work. So someone who typically works with angels, as you bring your session in, you ask your ascended masters, guardian angels, spirit
Yep.
guides. So when you're bringing in that symbol over the client, that angel will already be with that through that journey.
Oh, I
So
love
it's
that.
very beautiful. Yeah, that's a 3-hour training as well. And that helps you be a master teacher so that you can go out and you can train and level people up to bring in the archangels.
Well, when you have that one, I'm taking it.
Sounds good. Sounds
I love
good.
that one. And
Good.
going back to the money one, as you're talking about it, I was thinking about some of the other struggles that people may feel that are associated with money is like lack of self-worth. Because a lot of people that have that, they feel that they're not worthy enough to make more money or be in a certain
Sure.
job. So really that energy around that money Reiki there's so much to that. And it can heal on so many levels.
It absolutely can. And using music, like we'll put ABBA song on, Money Money, and that's how we'll start. We'll just dance as we come on, just to shift the energy. Music is that universal language, right? And so if that song doesn't work for you, then let's pull out, the Beatles' Money Money, right? And so we'll change the song. Go around your house and dance for a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Things are going to be tough sometimes, but bring that playfulness in, bring those affirmations in, as you approach things, say, the universe is always working in my favor. The universe is always working in my favor. So when those negative thoughts come in, and we have that cultural conditioning, right?
Yeah.
Unintentionally, possibly by our parents, as you see them arguing, fighting, over things, over money issues, that's put upon us. Then into relationships, we have that, co-workers. So we pick up a lot on the journey with money in the relationship. Money can be used to bring blessings, but it also can be used for dark things as well. So that's
Yeah.
what makes it an interesting subject to do. But as you hold the money, whether you're making a digital transaction, whether you're writing a check, whether you're paying cash, you bless that money. So that other person, so you're sending it out into the world. So the idea is to level up as many people with money Reiki so that we're working together to change the collective.
Yeah, that's great. I love
Yeah.
that.
And then
Beautiful.
it adjusts it. You learn the symbols of other countries as well. So you can bring those symbols in and beautiful meditations with that, river of abundance with that. So you have very similar to how the holy fire does with the experiences.
One of the things that people, I know I did, I'm going to talk about me personally. When I first started either giving sessions or even, yeah, giving sessions on Reiki, let's say, I had a hard time charging money.
Mm.
Do you ever hear people say that to you? Like, I don't know if I should charge,
Yes.
but there's this whole energy around that. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, that's a struggle bus I've been on. So,
Yeah. Struggle bus. Yes. Me
or the
too.
train rather. So yeah, it's you know that there has to be an exchange of energy, but you also know that this is a gift to share with the world. So what do you do? So I go back to the rationalization of, you give a fish, you feed him for a day, feed for a day. But if you teach them how to fish, they do it for a lifetime. So you're teaching them a skill. So when someone says, my goodness, your master's class is this much money. Well, it's based on the International Center of Reiki, right? That's the recommended price for it. Well, why is it so much money? Well, this book is a huge tool here. I'm not only giving, you're getting the master symbol, you're getting the holy fire symbol, you're getting world peace Reiki, right?
Hmm.
And then you're getting the ability to teach online and in person. Now you're getting a book that has all these different experiences in it and the spirit attachment release. So these are tools that you're going to help in your business. You have someone take one master class off of you, you already broke even, right?
Hmm.
You get
Right.
a couple students for your level 1 and 2, you're paying off on your investment. So that's how I rationalize it with that. And that's where the struggle is there's so many people out there that have different prices. Well, why should I go to you when this person is like $50 lower? And I wish there was, a standard of pricing that we had with it so people can just go by the energy and not by the price with it.
Yeah.
So
That's a good point.
that's a hard one with it. So you have these recommendations with the ICRT and the International Center of Reiki. You want to follow that, but then you have some that are intuitive and they're like, well, I want to make it 333 and 222 and 111, and like that's great, but we want to
Yeah.
level it up. And then I'll find someone that'll say, well, I can take this class online for $14.99. Well,
Yeah.
that's great. It's a recording. That's a great resource, but you really need that live teacher, whether it's on Zoom or in person, to really guide you to ask these
Yeah.
questions, especially level 1 with it. So, yeah, but
Yeah.
the money thing's always an issue, and especially when friends come with you and family come with you, and then you feel like they're taking advantage of you because you're giving them deals, and then you get burned out, and then it's like, okay, I have to set the boundaries up
Yeah.
with it. Yeah. And my
Yeah.
teacher, when I started, she recommended keep your prices high, don't go low, because she just was so excited that she wanted to share the gift of Reiki, right? So she had rock bottom prices. And then with her experience, her knowledge, as she tried to raise them, her clients didn't want to pay that. They still wanted to pay, the lower beginning price that they started at.
Right.
So,
And
so
all
it's
these other
interesting.
trainings too. That I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I
Yeah.
agree with you too. You're teaching people a lifelong skill, and there's a lot of values to what we're teaching. There's so much
Hmm.
information, and to have
Yeah.
someone like yourself who understands it all, that can explain it. And I mean, I know when I have students, I become their mentor for life. I tell them,
Hmm.
hey, I'm here. I'm not going away.
Oh, yeah.
I'm here for
Yeah.
you. You can ask me any questions, whatever. So I want to continue that connection that I have with my students, and I have. And I
Yeah.
think that that adds a lot of value too. I'm not just charging you 14.99, and then once that it's done, I don't see
Of
you or
course,
hear
of
from you
course.
anymore.
And it's
And I
years of
meant, yeah,
experience. Yeah. And even with the the yoga also.
Yes.
Here in El
Yeah.
Paso,
Yeah.
there was a shooting at a Walmart a few years ago. And so a grant came to many of the community centers, which is amazing, having that grant. So they were able to provide free fitness programs. So you have your Zumba, you have your cardio, you have your yoga, right? So people were coming to all of the different community centers for free yoga, but at the same time, it's pulling the price down of those that have the studios. So
Mm.
now it's like $10 a class, $5 a class,
Yeah.
sliding scale, and people aren't realizing, all the training that we go for. A 200-hour training is not cheap, right?
Nope.
The 300-hour is not cheap. All the things that you
The
have to pay for,
certifications and
your
all
certifications,
the
your
alliance.
insurance, the
Yeah.
yoga alliance
Insurance.
that you have to pay for. And they're not realizing that when I'm showing up and I'm doing a $10 class and
Yeah.
giving you how much of experience as an E500-hour teacher here, right? So that's what makes it a struggle here, where you're getting burned out, and you're going to places that you can get the contract, so you can go there. So it's really affecting the studios here. So we had 2 studios that closed within the last 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. They're closing. And
They're
the only ones
closing.
surviving are really the fitness centers,
Mm-hmm.
like the YMCA's that they can afford to,
Well, yeah, and they roll that into the
they
membership.
roll
So
that into the
someone,
membership.
yeah. So it's like, oh, well, I don't understand why your 1030 class here isn't doing well. It did well at this fitness center. Well, that's rolled
Yeah.
into their membership, and they're working out, and then all of a sudden, oh, wait, there's a class over there.
Yeah. We
Let me
pop
do it.
in. Yeah.
Pop in, right? Versus, driving and coming out to this place, to this studio to do a class, right? But
Yeah.
again, it's wonderful to have it where our community gets moving. It has that, okay, it's free. We want them to, go, right? Because movement is medicine. But then
Yes.
again, it's hurting those that, this is our passion.
Yeah. Well, so segueing into something that about the same topic, because the landscape of yoga is changing, has been changing. You have come up with a brilliant idea that I want you to share with the audience about your beep
it,
beep.
it makes me laugh. Okay,
I love
so
it.
um, although wonderful, El Paso, rentals for commercial property are pretty high. And I just explained to you how El Paso has changed with offering the variety of yoga for free. So I created Beep Beep, the Yoga Jeep, which is my Jeep going around and doing events at schools, daycares, in-services, events. I come to you. Also, I'm having in the Jeep resources, blankets, bolsters. I have these interesting woodworm hammers that you tap out, which is great for yin, and mats that I can rent out as well. So I do a variety of yoga classes, including laughter yoga, which is lots of fun, chair yoga, yin, hatha, beginner, and I also have on there Reiki, meditation, yoga nidra, kids yoga as well. So it's just a variety of things where I come to you.
I love that. That is a brilliant idea. And you will be able to just spread the love of yoga even more,
Yeah.
and yoga nidra and all that. That's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when you said beep beep, and I realized before when we talked about it, or I saw it first, I'm like, oh, it's too bad you can't have like the Roadrunner as your
That's what that's
as your mascot. Unfortunately, it would cost too much money, but
I
maybe
know, right?
somebody
Right.
similar. I love that. That is great. And I love that you're also putting it out into the schools. I
Yes.
talk to a lot of yoga teachers outside of the podcast. No one ever says like, I really want to bring it into the schools. And I've been saying it, maybe I should do it, but I've tried. It's really hard to get into the school system sometimes. They're very much, they have their approach, their ideas, but bringing it into the schools, that's really where we need to
Yeah.
bring it in,
Yeah. And the
elementary.
meditation.
Yeah. Well, you're a teacher or
Yeah.
elementary school teacher, so
Yeah.
you have a little bit of a connection there, but that's where it needs to start because kids are struggling with so much more. And when you talked about anxiety before, there's so much a rise of anxiety amongst the young kids, teenagers,
Yeah.
younger. Yeah. Wow. Well, I wish you luck with that. I love that. Great. You do yoga teacher training as well. You talked about yoga nidra. You're on Insight Timer as well.
I am on Insight Timer. Yes, I've been on it for about 2 years.
Wow. And for people that don't know what that is, it's a free app that you can use. You can pay for certain things as well, right?
Yeah, they have a
But
premium. Yeah.
they have a premium, but you can download the app. And are people able to find you with the free version?
They are.
Oh,
It was
okay.
a wonderful tool during COVID. Originally, what it was is it started out as a timer, right? It was a little bell that we used during teaching yoga classes, and then it turned
Yes.
into offering of just so many things. So any time of the day, you can come on. You see the teacher. We don't see you. We just are able, if you place anything in the comment section, we're able to read it, and so you can peek in. So a variety. I mean, we have somebody on there that does sound bowls and yoga to just talks. There's just such diversity there. And what a blessing it was when COVID hit that I could be able to go on and just watch and be a part of it. And
Mm.
so when I kind of got things set up here, I decided I'm going to go on. I'm going to like give back. So that's my way of giving back. So I do Reiki on there. I do yoga, and I've been every Friday doing ASMR, which is quite interesting. And it's really taken off. I right now, even though there's people who have recorded audio on there, I'm the only one right now doing it live.
What's ASMR?
Yes, it's autonomous sensory meridian response. So it's
Wow.
those tingling sensations. So like lots of tapping, crinkling noises, a fan. So anything that you can think of, around your home to tap, and as people are going to sleep. Now there's certain noises that may bother people, but then others, it feels very relaxing to it. So I just use different things that I
Wow.
collected in my teaching and my music and things, and people request things. So I use like Koshi chimes, I
Mhm.
use my rain stick, like I could pick up this little thing and just tap it. So you do this little tapping and you whisper, this is ASMR. And you just do things like that.
It's on Friday.
Fridays, yep, ASMR.
And at any particular time?
So it's 8 p.m. Mountain Time.
8 p.m.
Mountain Time.
Mountain.
Yeah,
Okay,
and this is
everyone.
really popular on TikTok. So you can check different people out on TikTok. There's people that get real loud with it. They do chaos ASMR. Some do Reiki ASMR. While they're giving you the Reiki, they'll have like the sound of fire or something crinkling.
Hmm.
So it's really taken off
I've
on
never heard of it. I'm learning so much from you, Tracy. I am in awe of you.
So yeah, so you can be on there. So you'll see people, they'll do this, they'll have their crystal, they'll have some sounds going on. So they blend different things together. So yeah.
Oh well,
One
I'm gonna have to
person,
check it out.
her
Go ahead.
name's the Reiki Fairy. She uses a feather, and she'll say things and you'll hear it brush up against the mic. Yeah.
Brilliant. There are some things that like I have the sensory hearing thing, like loud noises. And I know my husband has a CPAP mask, and that actually is very soothing sound to me.
Sure,
And
sure.
it helps me to
Yeah.
sleep. It's like
Yeah.
if he doesn't have the mask on and he snores, I'm like, you definitely have to either leave the room or put the mask
Yes.
on. So
Yeah. So yeah,
um
mine's a little interesting. I'll start with like pulling cards. We'll do a little bit of breath work, and then we'll go into them. They're called triggers. So in the real world, triggers aren't a great thing, but in ASMR, they're a good thing. They give those little goosebumps, tingling sensations, hair rising, and so it's just interesting what people really enjoy. So I had gone to a thrift shop of all places, and someone had these kind of shells, and they had a costume. It was a part of a costume. It was supposed to be around your wrist. I thought, how playful. These are these wooden shells. And there had been the biggest hit making these noises
wow.
as they clunked together. And that's a big request, to the point they asked me to record it, they being the people in the
Yeah.
class. And I made a little recording of it.
Oh, I'm gonna definitely check it out. I love that. It may be my thing. I think I'm gonna be
It
hooked.
might be your thing. It
Yeah,
might
I
be your thing.
have. um so I want to ask you about your own the role of self-care you have in your life, because I know people like you're giving, you have a family and you're teaching and you're doing and you're beeping on your Jeep. what do you do for yourself to help you like just chill, like
Yeah.
your self-care thing?
Well, I'm an empath, and so it's kind of like how you come out of the dryer and the static clings on you, and things come to me and stick to me. And so I have to be really mindful and careful as I go through. So, wearing a lot of like cellulite, the jewelry that kind of pulls things in. But I need to do my yoga nidra. So, there's a teacher that I listen to every Wednesday. I have teachers as well that I listen to. Carolina Goldberg, she's wonderful. She is a Reiki teacher, yoga teacher, but she also channels. So I listen to her on her YouTube channel with that. I do self-care every day, and the universe will tell me, the energy will tell me, like, girl, you got to slow down. And I was kind of going and teaching, and things were really taking off, and I was kind of neglecting that. And right around October of last year, I never had a problem ever with my blood pressure, always had textbook. And the strangest thing happened one day. I woke up and I realized, like, wow, like I can't get my wedding ring off. I've had this wedding ring for 15, 16 years, and I sparingly took it off. And it got to the point by the next day I needed it cut off. And I mentioned it that evening to my daughter, and she was like, she said, you might want to check your blood pressure. I'm like, what? Like, you're crazy. I always had textbook, no problem. Okay. Well, a few days later, went to the dentist, went to the dental hygienist. She was cleaning my teeth. And afterwards, she looked at my chart. She said, do you have high blood pressure? I'm like, not that I know of. And I'm like, okay, this is twice now, like within
Yeah.
2 weeks. I better go. So I got a blood pressure monitor, checked it. Sure enough, it was beyond the 140 over 90. And so I, contacted the doctor, we made a care plan, and then through the months, it was found out that I have what's called white coat hypertension. Every time I go to the doctor, it soars anywhere else I am. So I've had to be very mindful in bringing in my Reiki practice with this. And so it got to the point where I said to the doctor, I'm going to change the way I'm doing this. What advice would I give to my students, right? So I came in, and right before the medical assistant gave my vitals, I said, I need a moment. And I placed hands over my heart here. I imagined the light coming down. I placed the symbols and took the blood pressure, and it was under the 140 over 90. And that's what I started doing. So when I left my house, it was a low number. Drive to there, sit and wait, go in, and it would be through the roof. So I'm having to bring that in as part of my self-care. So it's just evolving and changing as it needs it. So yeah, I'm really having to put that work in, listen to things in the evening. I was listening to someone last night, and they were doing a little bit of a money meditation, but I really need that to keep my cup full with it, or the universe tells me, you know what, here we go, we're slowing her down.
Yes. Well, you're an Aries and you have a lot of energy.
It's a lot of fire energy.
A
So I can
lot.
go, 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 go for sure. And so, because people are like, you do so much, but to me, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like, oh, I'm not doing enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. I feel the same. I'm not I'm Aquarian. And I found out recently I don't know if you ever heard of human design, but I never did until recently. And I found out I'm a projector, and a projector needs a lot of rest. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you don't
Yeah.
rest. Then I
Yeah.
think back, I'm like, I guess I have to, because I get burnt out and
Yeah.
overwhelmed. That's
Yeah.
like my red light, like the blinking, overwhelm. And that's when okay, I got to start like slowing down.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm learning, a lot of
Yeah.
self Reiki.
A lot of
That'll be,
self Reiki.
yeah,
Yeah. And I need like at least 1 or 2 days where I don't leave the house just to reset. I just need to be still and relax. So
yeah,
I've really had to bring that in since things are coming. There's been some opportunities that have been flowing in, and it's like, okay, thank you, universe. But
yeah. You got to realize what you can let go of too, and
yes, yeah, and there's things that I have to sit down and look at the calendar and like, okay, what can I shift? What can I change?
yeah.
Something has to change. But the energy will tell you.
Oh yeah, yes. It's being aware of the energy. And I want to talk about your podcast, because what inspired you to create your podcast? And it's a great podcast.
Thank you.
by the way.
Well, this is how interesting this started. So, I think it's been over a year, but about a year ago, year and a half ago, someone reached out to me, a producer, and first it was email, and it was like, hey, we have a radio show, love to have you on as a guest. Whole explanation. I thought, okay, I don't know about this. Then I got another email. Hey, I'd love to talk to you. So finally we connected. And with that connection, she said, hey, like this is a show here. We'd love to have you on. Both of the hosts here have like over 60 years of experience in the radio. And we're going to do a week where it's self-care and talking about Reiki. We'd love to have you on. And it sounded so great. And she gave me examples of everything. I'm like, okay. But I found out it is a pay to play where they charged you $1,500 to be on this 30-minute interview with no interruption. And I thought, do people actually pay for this? And of course, she sold it as, of course they do. We had a tarot reader, we had a psychic, we had this. And then it made me think, my goodness, these people are paying for this, thinking that they're going to have 8,000 people come to their website and all these amazing things are going to happen. And I said, you know what? There has to be a different way. So I got off of that call. I told her, no, thank you. And I was thinking about it. How could I be a change? How can I help? How can I give back? What can I do? And then the idea of like, okay, let me start a podcast up. And it came to me of like, I needed a name. What's a name? And then it came up to Ready, Set Reiki. Well, I, of course, thought somebody had this name already, right? Ready, Set Reiki. And sure enough, no one did. And so I was able to trademark it, do the things that I needed to do with it. And I got it up pretty quickly, having that experience from all those years ago, just being in that 2 years of working on Barbara's, No Talk blog radio program. And so that's how that started. So I let anyone come on who works with energy. Doesn't necessarily have to be Reiki. I've had psychics and tarot readers, light language. I don't charge them anything for it. When they come on, I give them the video if they would like so that they can use it for their promotion. So those people that may not have the time, those that may not be tech savvy, have that opportunity. So if somebody is interested in doing a training or seeing them and they're not sure, well, hey, listen to my podcast then. Get a sense of who I am. Listen to my voice. Maybe that's a connection there. So that's why I put Ready, Set Reiki together.
I love that. Oh, that's a great story. And it's a great podcast. I really encourage people to listen to it. I'll put the link in the show notes.
Thank you.
And I and Tracy, I'm honored to, Tracy invited me to speak on the show as well. So, so have a listen to at least that one.
Of course.
And all the others, because she has amazing guests on there.
Yes. Yeah, I've been fortunate enough within this time frame. I have over 100 people I've interviewed, and I am.
Wow.
They keep coming, and I don't want to say no because it's part of the journey. So I frame it as a journey. I don't call myself a host. I call myself a guide because I'm learning too. Every time I connect with someone, they're my teacher. I mean, it's like taking a class, and I've learned so much from each person. I've connected with people from Scotland, Germany, Australia. Someone from Dubai is coming on the show. So it's really expanding my territory.
Yeah, it's so true. I too I learned so much from my guests, and I am finding just the most amazing people out there doing the most amazing work. And everyone has these incredible stories.
Mm-hmm.
We're so in our little bubble, even though we're so connected on the internet. But then you come across people and they're doing so many good things. It's just great. I love it.
Right. And it also shows too that, there's multiple ways of healing. You just, again, going back to Goldilocks, you find you're just right. Yeah. Find what works for you. Maybe you need to see a doctor. Maybe you need that medication. Maybe yoga's going to work. Maybe you tried Reiki and you know what? It's not my thing, but maybe it brought you to a point of healing where now you're downloading light codes, right? Yeah. Now maybe you're being a psychic medium. So maybe that was important on the part of your path with your healing.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. So is there anything else you would like to add that we haven't discussed? I know we talked a lot about a lot of different things. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we wrap things up?
Well, I just want to tell everybody keep doing the work. If you are doing Reiki, it's important to do your self care every day. If you are curious about Reiki, give it a try, and if it's not your thing, give something else a try. So keep on the journey, keep working on you. That's the best thing. We have to have these experiences. I call them character developments, right? Challenges. We have to go through these experiences, and what a blessing to be able to have things in an energetic toolbox to help you go through and navigate with a little bit of ease and a little bit of grace with that. So it's
I
nice
love
to
that.
have those things. I mean, you may not see it or feel it right away, but it'll arise when those challenges happen. When I lost my sister, it was devastating. I didn't have the tools. I did have yoga, so that next day after she passed, I went to yoga. I went to a yoga class. No one, why are you here? Your sister just passed. That's the tool I had at the time. But then versus when my father passed, I had all these tools that I had for me that I used to help my dad, to help the medical staff that was working so hard to keep him going, right? So I'm like, wow, what a difference in that experience versus this. So keep doing the work, keep finding it. You'll find the one that's just right for you.
Thank you so much for being here today, Tracy. I appreciate you and all the work that you're doing. And I'm really honored that you took the time to be here.
Thank you. And I appreciate you too. You're doing amazing work as
Thank
well.
you. Thank you.